Welcome back to a brand new episode of Gen Z BTC. It's me, Satoshi Guapamoto. And today I'm here to tell you, you gotta be the Bitcoin guy, all right? Just be the Bitcoin guy. Embrace being the Bitcoin guy. There's two girls who are maybe watching this. Be the Bitcoin gal, all right? And here's what I mean by that. I'm not saying you need to talk about Bitcoin every single day, every single time anyone mentions anything, because that's what we want to do when we first get into Bitcoin. When you really understand that this is the separation of money and state, that this is the only energy-backed currency in existence, when you realize that this is the key to unlocking human flourishing and being able to take the world to a type 1 civilization, right? It's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a groundbreaking innovation, and you want to share it with everybody. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you don't want to lay it on too thick. It's already kind of hard to understand Bitcoin because people are institutionalized. They're taught all these different things about money that are incorrect, right? And then for you to try to pull the wool from under their eyes and show them how things actually work, right? And talk about all this different financial jargon and, oh, BlackRock's doing this and all this other stuff. That goes in one ear, out the other. Most people don't know what you're talking about. You just sound like a lunatic crackhead. You do not want that. What I'm telling you to do instead is to embrace Bitcoin in everything that you do as best as you can, right? So what do I mean? At my job, I am a logistics freight broker. I decided, you know what? I'm going to target AI data centers. I'm going to target Bitcoin mining companies. I'm going to look into companies that are buying transformers, right? Who need massive energy demand. And that's how I started working with HUD 8. That's how I work with advanced crypto services. That's how I ended up working with fixed rigs, right? M3 miners. That's how I'm working with Tesla, all right? Doing their AI data center stuff, moving transformers for them. You know, that's how I'm working with Compass Mining. All these different companies that I'm working with that are all kind of in this Bitcoin space. And once you get one, the ball starts rolling. You kind of explain how you have expertise in certain things, and it just gets bigger, bigger, bigger. They give you more opportunities, right? I've been able to talk to all these different people at CleanSpark and TerraWolf and all these places because of the fact that I know their commodity and I'm reaching out to them with a real passion, and I understand Bitcoin. And because I understand that, I can take my fiat job and apply Bitcoin to it in that way. Then I start closing Bitcoin companies. They start giving me more freight. I'm making more money. People in the office are seeing me. They're like, wait, you have a Bitcoin customer? What do they move? How do you do that? I thought it was digital. What do you mean there's physical freight for them? And you start explaining what an ASIC is. You show them what a mining farm looks like. You start telling them that it uses mostly clean energy. You go into all this stuff. You're slowly orange pilling someone based off of curiosity. If you are in a book club, all right, and it's your turn to pick the book, maybe you offer, hey, let's read the Bitcoin Standard. I offer the Bitcoin Standard as the book to read for the month. I offer the price of money. That's not what this book is. This is the big print, right? The big print. We should read the big print for our next meeting, right? We should read The Price of Tomorrow. We should read Broken Money. You know, we should read the Fiat Standard. We should read Fiat Ruins Everything. Stuff like that, you know, integrate Bitcoin into the stuff that you're already doing. Maybe it's as simple as wearing a Bitcoin shirt to the gym or a Bitcoin hat. I've done that and had people come up to me and they're like, yo, you're a Bitcoiner too? What's up, bro? Heck yeah. Even if they're crypto kids, right? They run up to you, whoa, you're wearing a Bitcoin shirt? Yeah, I'm an XRP bro. What's up? You know, I don't really know you, little bro. Why don't you just put the fries in the bag? You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's potential to open up a conversation. You can start talking about some Bitcoin stuff. Hey, yeah, I used to buy XRP back in the day too, bro, but I got tired of getting ripped off. Now I'm Bitcoin only, you know? Maybe they just leave it at that and you walk away. But regardless, you're planting a seed in that guy's head because he wanted to talk to you because you wore a Bitcoin shirt, right? He's probably going to think back, oh man, remember that guy in the Bitcoin shirt who told me he was tired of getting ripped off? Probably should have listened to him. It's 5 years later, XRP's down, BTC's 6 figures, 7 figures. Oh my goodness, why didn't I do it? You know? And even again, wearing a shirt, wearing some Bitcoin Crocs, you know, it can be a conversation starter. It's a subtle way of just planting that seed, you know, reinforcing, you know, Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. You're not wearing an Ethereum shirt. You're not wearing an XRP shirt, all right? You're not wearing a USDT shirt. You're not wearing a Dogecoin shirt. You're rocking a Bitcoin shirt. You know what I mean? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Because there's Bitcoin and then there's everything else. That's why we're rocking Bitcoin merch. Just find a way to integrate Bitcoin into the stuff that you're already doing, whether it's subtle or whether it's very upfront, and then run with that. Because one thing you gotta do in life is you have to try to follow your passions as best you can. And if educating others about sound money and how it can make their life better, how it can enrich their experience on this earth, then yeah, you're gonna want to push Bitcoin as much as you can while also integrating it into what you're already passionate about. All right. Following your passions is how you get rich. You know, that's how you you fulfill yourself, yes, but it's also typically how you get rich. And some people might say, oh, well, you know, your passion doesn't make you any money and it doesn't do this and that. There's a lot of people who've gotten rich by following their passions, especially now that we have the internet. There's multiple people who will find you relatable. They probably have the same passion, and in a way, they're vicariously living through you. They're watching your channel. They're watching your posts. They are sharing your likes, you know, whatever you're doing. It is their passion as well, but you just have the time, the energy, the focus, and the courage to go after it and to chase it and to put that out into the world. That's the difference, right? So follow your passions, tie Bitcoin into your passions. If Bitcoin is your passion and it's your only passion, you need more passions, little bro, all right? You need more stuff going on. You need to get more hobbies, you know, because there is Bitcoin and that is very important, but there's other stuff going on. So integrate Bitcoin into that other stuff. That's really all I can say. Be the Bitcoin person. When it's time to ask questions about Bitcoin, because the price is at 150K and people are scrambling and they're trying to figure out, well, how do I do this thing? What is this? Be that person who's there for them, right? You don't want to just ostracize and chastise everyone. Oh, you're all fiat normie idiot. Like, it's funny to say stuff like that, yeah, especially on Twitter. But in real life, don't be like that. In real life, people are gonna probably depend on you, or they'll reach out to you years down the line after you told them many times. Yes, at the end of the day, they gotta figure it out for themselves, all right? You gotta take the training wheels off the kids, let them roll, fall over, scrape their knee, then they come running back. Now they need your help. Be there for them when they need help. That's one of the key principles of sales. Someone might hang up on your face when you're first calling them, and it's because you're a solicitor, bro. They don't know you. You know, you're calling out of nowhere. You're telling them what you do. Click. I don't need that right now, bruh. I'm busy. Calling me out of nowhere. You know, you're not gonna call them back and start cussing at them like, well, you're an idiot and you're gonna regret doing this and all this other stuff. That's not gonna guarantee you any business, all right? What can guarantee you some business is trying to respect their time, leave the door open, plant the seed, right? It's not the same day you eat the fruit. Plant the seed, and then eventually they might reach back out and say, hey, tell me about that Bitcoin thing again. Tell me about that freight and logistics thing again. You know, that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. Embrace it, all right? I'm not telling you to talk about ending the Fed every time that you go out to eat or do anything like that. You don't have to do that every time, bro. Trust me, I know you want to. We've kind of all been there. I was there for show, you know, it seems so obvious, and the fact that other people didn't get it, it was like pissing me off. So I just had to hammer it home at all times, whenever I could. You don't have to do that. When appropriate, yes, let's talk sound money, all right? People are talking about the price of everything. They're talking about inflation. They're talking about the deficit. They're talking about home prices. They're talking about all these things. Yeah, let's slip in a little bit of sound money there. You got to get good at selling Bitcoin. You have to get good at understanding markets, capital markets, macroeconomics, microeconomics, personal finance. It all comes together. It's not going to happen in one day, right? You can't just say Bitcoin fixes this and then leave it at that, because then you just sound like an idiot. You have to be able to step by step break down a problem, start from first principles, and then go from there. But be the Bitcoin guy. Be the Bitcoin guy. Be the Bitcoin guy. Because who else is going to do it? Eventually, everyone's going to be in the same wave, but you're going to be the innovator. You're going to be the person that everyone went to when nobody knew what was going on. No one knew what they were talking about, but you were there. When people said, oh, I want to get into crypto, but I don't know who to talk to about it, they recommend, oh, I know a guy. They recommend you, you know, so be the Bitcoin guy. Be the Bitcoin guy. That's all I can say, man. If you guys like this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with someone else who might find it interesting, and I'll see you guys in the next video, my friends. Remember, stack sats or die trying.